Spinny wheel. Good morning, everybody. And yeah, it's still morning. That's fine. And welcome to my first and most exciting interview with the gorgeous Imogen Tinkler. Now, I've known Imogen for about 3 years now, I would say, and she is incredible. She is co-founder of the amazing Bangers and Balls, and there's lots of stuff there. Go check that out. And what I wanted to talk to Imogen about today is like where she started, a bit about her journey, and what she's doing now, so that you can learn too. Because I'm a great believer in sharing success and wins, so we can bring everyone up together and grow together. So with that said, good morning, Imogen. How are you? Oh, are you there? You seem to be frozen. Oh no. If you're here, come and say hello and post a comment. So while I can't see Imogen, I don't know what is happening. She's got a lovely smiley face, frozen, but while I can't see her and talk to her, I'll jabber on a bit. So what I do want to tell you about, and Imogen will tell you more about this later, is Imogen's amazing supper clubs. So Bangers and Balls have this incredible, they're called, oh, hang on a minute, they're called supper clubs. And what they do is you can go in the day with your family, which is incredible. Well, I haven't done that yet, so I would love to do that. I'm just going to add Imogen back in.
I'm sorry, it's the summer. Bank holiday Monday, hey?
Yeah. Doesn't want to work, and that's fine. Nor do most people on a sunny bank holiday Monday. That doesn't usually happen, does it? That combination of two things.
I know, and the what's going on?
I know, craziness. So I was going to harp on about supper clubs, but it's going to sound rubbish for me. But what I want to know is, let us know, for those of you that don't know you, what do we need to know about you? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Hi, I'm Imogen, as Natalie said. I'm living Whitstable in the sunshine today, going to the beach later, so that's on my mind. But co-founded Bangers and Balls with my... I always say I'm the bangers and he's the balls. Love a bit of innuendo from Essex, but it's all about seasonal food. And we always say, I remember one lady saying to me, "Oh, Imogen, I'm not a hippie and I just don't have enough time on my hands." It always really made me giggle because I used to feel a bit like that sometimes, but I didn't realise how much it was part of my life, about eating kind of more seasonally. So like the elderflowers coming out now and the strawberries are coming out, rather than just eating the same thing all year round and not engaging with it, and just you consume, don't you, rather than enjoying it. So we do 3 things. We do supper clubs where we pop up in different locations. So this year we're popping up on an idyllic farm, which is no dig, but it's got orchards in between Whitstable and Canterbury. Secret location you find out a week before. We like a little bit, I like to feel like a child, don't you, sometimes, and have that excitement. Yes, but knowing that it's not like a surprise party where everyone's going to be staring at you and you feel like you've got 10 minutes.
Yes, absolutely. Oh no! I wish we...
What? Yeah, and we're going to be there. We're going to be there. And that's in July and August, and we've got some amazing food like rhubarb hot sauce and elderflower and pork balls, or if you're vegan, we've got elderflower and rhubarb balls and honey, and we've also got dandelion honey. So many different things to try, and it's not your average supper club, because sometimes, again, when you get there, you can stand there and go, "Oh, who do I talk to? Where do I go?" You feel a bit awkward. So we have a treasure hunt. I call it a treasure hunt. You follow some clues. Again, you have that childlike feeling, and off you go. And you talk to people. You don't have to, but you can talk to people armed with your drink, and it just creates that fun and that context before you sit down to have your really kind of magical dinner. So we do that, and then we also have a membership which we set up last year. And it's learning how to do one thing a week and not get overwhelmed by it. Because again, I think this is like the same with sales. When you start to learn how to do something, you feel like you have to consume everything at once and learn how to do everything at once. And like anyone, our motivation goes up and down, doesn't it? and you can feel like, oh God, don't feel like that today. So that's why we just do one thing a week that we teach, and how to preserve it and make it. So you can feel really good about that. And I know Natalie's in our membership with Ivy, and I love it. I watched Ivy like planting her seeds, and it just made me feel so happy. She was an icon of our revolution. She was icon. And it's getting that kind of thing involved. And then the third thing we do now is we're doing lots of talks around nature, why it's good to get outside in nature. And we've worked with some quite big brands now. We've got some more coming because we're bringing the foodie revolution to corporates as well. So it feels quite exciting. But this is all obviously when you start, like when we first started, we were I say, but we were in pubs, popping up in pubs that didn't sell food so we could help drive footfall. And we also got in one of the top time out bars in London at Little Nan's, which was really cool. But it's so different from where we sit now. And it's that thing when you're getting started in business, you feel like everyone else is doing everything and you're just there. But the thing is, if you're selling and you're making money, you've got a business, haven't you? And that's kind of where you go from, isn't it? But yeah,
absolutely. I love that. And just to say, before we move on to my fabulous questioning skills, I want to let you know that both of those things, like particularly supper clubs, and I've posted about this before, but it's true, is like one of the most magical things that you can go and do. Like from the minute you get out your car, like there's excitement. Like you go and get your cocktail, and you go and I'm not going to reveal it all, but you go and do fun things. Let me just tell you that's before you even sit down at the table to have dinner. So
I just remember at yours, actually, it was started, we did the faraway tree, and it started in the magical line of medicines. Like, I'm quite childlike in my brain. So when I started giving people syringes, like plastic ones, not, like with a big needle, don't worry, to put into their what's going on? I was like, oh, it's the land of magical medicines, of course. But it was really funny watching people with the torch trying to get this in. But it's creating that conversation of magic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just amazing. And I think from the minute you go through, it's like that excitement and it is that childlike wonder before you even sit down to have your dinner. And dinner, goes without saying, is absolutely amazing. I've been to a few now and been blown away every time. So I think, although you've got the pubs and the restaurants that are open, it's not the same thing. Like if you really truly want a magical evening and treat the ones you love, or you've got a birthday coming up or something, it's just incredible. Get a ticket, like better than any night out that you'll have. Also,
like we always get people that come as a couple, and then they come back. They're like, "Oh, we have to book our tickets first, but we're going to bring our friends." But they book and we're going to bring 6 or 8 because together. Or someone last year their mum booked it for them as a break and just to have a night off because they'd had quite a hard lockdown. And this year they're coming back with their sister, their brother-in-law, their mum. But I was just so happy because they can't wait to share it with them. So
it's lovely. If you've got a group of you, it would be even better. I've been with one person every other time, but I think if I took my mates or my family or a special occasion, it would just be brilliant. You'd have such a laugh. And I have never actually been to the family days, so I think I might have a go at that one because Ivy would love it.
She would
love it, running riot around the place.
You don't have to sit still. You're not worried, especially now. Like having to sit at a table, it's difficult with kids because you kind of want a long lunch. I never want to go for lunch and eat and go. I want to sit there and soak up the atmosphere. But in these times, they're not allowed to kind of run around and have. You want kids to play with other kids, don't you? That's part of being young. It's the joy.
She loves it. Yeah, she loves it. So, what I wanted to ask you next is like, what made you get started? Like, what made you start Bangers and Balls? And what did you have any hesitance to doing it? Was there any fears you had? Because I'm thinking that there are some people relatively new in their journey. So it's like, what made you start, and what was the thing that kept you going, really?
Yeah, and kind of what made us start really was people kept I had like a career. I worked as a director at a children's charity, and then gone to work for some startups. When I left, when my father was ill, and people like, Imogen, when are you going to go back to work? Like, I was on track to become a CEO. That was what I wanted to do. I thought, I don't want to work on other people's time. You realise how short life is. And I thought, you know what? I'm off. I've got off the treadmill. And we could try this. And if it doesn't work, I've lost some time, maybe a bit of pride, but that's about it. Duncan wasn't working, and we were like, well, let's do it. We'd moved to Whitstable, and we just kind of did it overnight, mainly because people kept telling me I had to get a job, and I kind of stuck two fingers up and went, I'll make it my own way. So it was a little bit in anger as well that we found Little Nans. I just approached them and asked if we could pop up there, and they said yes. Then all of a sudden I could say, when I approached others, oh, we work with a top time out bar in London. Can we? I mean, it worked really well with them. And then we popped up in Whitstable as well at the Albert, gave us our first chance. And I remember popping up there doing our supper club, and poor Duncan, I went, oh yeah, and I've got McNade's coming, and I've got some bars and deal coming. I was like, Imogen, we haven't done one yet. You're brilliant. I believe in you. I've just got to sell all the tickets. But I remember how little we valued ourselves. For 3 courses, we charged £15. Like, what was going on in your head? And Duncan at that point was making 3 different meatballs for every main course. And people were asking, like, oh, can I have extra ones? And like, we don't get that anymore, because it's, they can tell how good they are and the flavour. Also, there was more than enough there. But people would ask us for all sorts of odd things because we didn't value ourselves enough charging at £15. I mean, that's not even how much you pay for a family KFC, is it? And that was one of the interesting things when we started, was how we valued ourselves and positioned. But we worked out we loved doing it. People loved what we did. But what I hated about being at work was being trapped in an office. I used to cycle to all my meetings. So now, why was I in a restaurant? Because again, everyone was like, you need to have your own restaurant. And I thought, I don't want a restaurant. I don't want those overheads. I want to do it our own way. And so then we approached the Amazing Edible Culture in Faversham, and we popped up in their greenhouses. And doing that, then it was like, it just clicked into place. But again, it didn't happen overnight. And then with our marketing, we don't and I think, I feel quite proud. We don't market like other food businesses. No. We're not just like, we probably produce too much content sometimes, but we're always sharing content about recipes and the excitement and the wonder and awe of food and where it comes from. And that's really helped us take us on a journey, because I don't think anyone gets a cemented business overnight, even when you thought about it, because we came up with the idea in 2013 in Williamsburg, in New York, talking about bangers and balls, and it was going to be bangers, so sausages and balls, and you were going to be able to choose to have it with mashed potato, pasta, or rice. I mean, we're so far away from that now. That was our... Yeah, we wanted to have we kind of wanted to have drive-throughs like McDonald's or things, but there was actually good food that was tasty, that there was and we were always saying we wanted people to be able to buy vegan or non-vegan, but to have we wanted it to be sourced from the right place and really care about that supply chain and create those conversations. That's always been really important to us.
Love it. And it is true what you're saying, is like so many things, and probably one of the most common things I see in people that I help is the value thing. And this is why, and it's like, I always talk about, you are the prize. And the prize consists of many, many things. And yes, it is about confidence and owning yourself. But when you do own your value and your worth, everything gets easier. You've got better expectations and boundaries, which you don't commonly have when you start a business. You'll charge what you're worth. You will not accept the not right clients for you, all of that stuff. So I'm really pleased that you talked about, like, the barrier initially was value, because I think that's a commonality in lots of people who are starting a business or even had a business for a little while and are looking to grow and can't figure out that missing gap. Because when we don't value ourselves, what happens is that other people can fill that, and like, we buy from certainty. So at some level, when you don't value yourself, you're not being certain that what you've got is amazing for other people.
And you don't feel great in yourself, because say we did all that work. So if we sold 10 tickets, that's £150 for a lot of work. And we give 20% away to the venue we're at. Then we're paying the farmers. So when you paid yourself, you're like, oh God, I've done like 100 hours work to make £40. like it doesn't feel good either, does it? And then if you continue on that, there becomes that you're like, oh, it's all right because we're only making this, and that's never okay. You always want to over deliver, so therefore you've really got to, I think, value what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's so important, and I'm so glad you brought that up. So you've been working with me probably since about 2019, I think. Yeah. So I started my business is called the Confidence Collective, and we had meetings like mini business masterminds, I suppose, and Imogen came to one of those. So I would love to know, like, what was the thing that made you want to come, and what do you think that you came wanting to change, if there was anything?
I think it's funny because I wasn't looking for anything, I'll be really honest. And when Natalie came along to the women's room, like to do a talk, I was like, oh, who's come to talk to us now? Kind of, and I was like, oh God, I really like her. I don't often like people that much, especially when you would like the subject is sales, and we all go a bit like, oh God, I used to work in recruitment. I'm like, I know how to do sales. I've always done sales, and we have that, don't we? Where we're like, I'm not listening to some sleazy sales talk. Don't tell me, and I've had them before where people are like, oh, you just constantly like write and phone people all the time, even if they don't want it, you just keep going until they have no chance but to say no, and you're like, and it drives me crazy. So to hear Natalie come, and she was talking about the confidence and how sales is about telling a story and about having those conversations with people. If people don't want to buy, that's fine, they're not ready yet, but to be really honest with those conversations and value. I think value was a huge thing. So when I had a talk, I was like, oh God, how can I hear more? And you just were setting up the Confidence Collective. And I have to admit, I always think like, and Natalie sometimes is like Imogen, because I always think I'm pretty confident. We all have days where we're not, like, and we feel like, obviously I feel self-doubt. I'm like, oh my God, my business is never going to work. I'm just going to stay in bed for 10 weeks. And this morning I quit actually to Duncan because I was like, I quit. I can't do that. And he was like, well, why are you quitting today, Imogen? I was like, because this won't open. He's like, you're pressing the wrong button. And I was like, I've quit. And he's like, okay, right. Do you want to reapply and start? And I'm like, oh yeah. So I think that's the thing as well. It happens to all of us, doesn't it? But going and Confidence Collected and hearing Natalie speak and giving us a format. So every month you were looking at something different. And the thing is, I've worked in marketing, I've worked in sales, so we can be the worst, like the cobblership, because I'm kind of like, I know my audience, I know who they are, and then Natalie's like, yeah, but what do they have for breakfast? I'm like, don't know. You don't know your audience, do you, Imogen? I'm like, no. Now I know my audience. I know her name is Charlotte. I know where she shops. I know what she wears. And don't let that overwhelm you if you haven't done that bit at home. But and you don't have to have that much detail at the beginning, but it's just going through again, going, who is your audience? Where do they hang out? What do they want? Because otherwise what you're doing is, if you've got, I don't like using the gun, so I'm going to use a bow and arrow. If you go and do archery and you're just, trying to do the bow anywhere, you're not ever going to hit that target. Or with Xanthi, we were at tennis the other day, and you have like these little rings and these bean bags to throw them in. And to have to say, I'm rubbish, but she was quite good at throwing her bean bags on. But it was a competition to see who get the most points. So she was like, I'll just throw them all at once. And then she went, oh, they're not landing in there anymore. And I'm like, because you're not throwing them on target. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest things for me with the sales is to keep remembering that target. And that's what really drew me to Natalie, that she was honest, non-sleazy. It's also, I know it's a bit sexy, it's quite nice to have a woman talking about sales. I also knew that she'd worked in recruitment and was one of the top sellers at Brook Street. And I know how hard that is. I worked in recruitment for Reed. I know what a big thing it is. And that I know myself that they'd always be like, you have to follow the script and you have to do this. And I'd just be like, no, I want to build the relationships. I want to build so people come back to me. And that's what Natalie's so good at, is building those relationships and helping you to identify where they are. And I'd say the other thing about Natalie is that she always, and I tell her off for this sometimes, is that she gives so much because she cares. Like, and not everyone cares about the clients that they work with. And like Natalie and I are friends now. I'm not saying that always happens, because that is a bit, you can't be, but as you grow, but that's what really drew me to Natalie. So it's a very long answer, but very honest.
But yeah, it's so important. Like, and the truth is, in Brook Street, when I started, I nearly got the sack. because I didn't get enough sales. But I knew that it was important to build relationships. So just watch me. Just watch me, because you do when you're in recruitment. It's very targeted, and I was like, just watch. Yeah, let's watch. And it was like, yeah. I won all the trips to gauchos and all that malark. Funny enough, like, you know, this is quite a sexist comment, and I love men, just giving a precursor, but the men were pissed, really pissed that a girl was at the top of the leaderboard. That did not sit well. Yeah.
It's amazing. I worked at Reed in London Bridge, and our manager was female, and I was on the perm desk. So both on the perm desk were female, and there was a one temp guy on the. He was the guy. We only had one guy. I'm still really good friends with them all. Actually, I really loved it. Then it taught me a lot about sales in my first year. Some of how I wouldn't do it, but at Reed, you got sent on it was a week long, once you've been there for a year, training course up at the Manor. James, it felt very, you know, you're young, you feel quite excited to go there. But I always remember them teaching you how to sell an ashtray. And even though people had been at Reed for a year, they'd stand up and go, oh, you get the ashtray, and they'd start selling it, And they wouldn't have said to the person, do you smoke? Do you like ornaments? Who are your friends? They wouldn't be asking those questions around them before they tried to sell it. And then they were shocked when they didn't buy it, and they kind of looked at me like, when I said, oh, do you smoke? And the person went, no. They're like, oh, now you're not going to be able to sell it. But of course, I sold it as something that wasn't an ashtray that they desperately needed. It was a pen holder because you could put 3 pens around it. But it was and I think that's another thing that Natalie always comes back to. It's asking your customer the questions. What do they want? What do they need? And getting it right, because we can spend ages tying ourselves up in knots, creating these courses or creating things that are exquisite and beautiful. But if no one wants them, what's the point? And that's one of my favourite things about working with Natalie. She really helps you to focus on that. What do people actually want, and what do they feel overwhelmed or worried about? What keeps them up at night?
You've got to qualify people, because this is it's a mixture, right? It can't be, oh, I'll do what everyone else wants and not fulfill myself, because one, you're not going to be motivated to do it, because it could be something you hate. And two, when you get passionate about something, like you're really passionate about Bangers and Balls and not just the business, but the ethos behind it. That's the important, your why, right? And a lot of people forget that, because we're trying to create something that makes money, and money is important. Do not get me wrong, money is really important. But what's even more important is why you do it. And when you're passionate about it, so you need to be passionate about it. And then you create something from your passion that answers those questions, that who's it for, who's it not for, you know, and then that's when you can make amazing products and services happen.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. So thank you very much for that. So I wanted to ask you, because unless you've been living under a rock, you know that I've been talking about my challenge and Sales Made Simple for quite a while now, and you can see it. I know, who knew? That's all I've been talking about. But there's a reason for that. And remember, that's all I've been talking about. If you're thinking, how do I sell more? That's all I've been talking about. So if you want to, just to give you a little midway, if you want to find out, maybe you didn't do the challenge, maybe you did, maybe you didn't complete it. Down below, I'm offering for this week only. I don't usually do that. I've cleared out my diary. Not all the time. There's some select spots. So if you want a free 15-minute call to see how you can smash your sales, and take that one step further, if we've piqued your interest in the course, the link is below this video. Okay, so what I wanted to know is, you've done SMS and worked through that course with me last time. If say you was in the position that, I don't know, you were or someone was, and they go, well, I'm plateauing, really, and I don't know how to get out of it, why would you say that Sales Made Simple might help them?
I think there's 3 things that really makes a difference. One is it's like in a bite-sized format, so you really can get stuck in, because they say with courses only 10% of people finish them. It's what Harvard says. But I know that Natalie had 100% finish rate on her course, which says a lot, because it was done in bite-sized format. And I know this time there's a bi-week, so every 2 weeks there's a call, so it's not overwhelming, that you can go through with what you're doing. You've got time to actually do the work, then sit down and discuss it as a group. And you're not on your own, because other people are going through the course with you. I know, like, one of the girls from last time was doing macrame, And she just started, and now she's got a membership. She's got all of these. She's back out selling, and she did this in lockdown. And it's kind of like really amazing that happened. I'm like, wow, we only had just set up our membership last year. And people might say we've got 50 members now, and that is big for us. Like, that is a big start.
That's amazing.
Obviously, I want 5,000, but I've learned you're not going to get there overnight because you have to do the work. But this is, that's been a huge thing for us. But what my biggest takeaway from the course, and I have to admit, I was one of the people that went, no, that won't work for me, Natalie, was when she said, like, Imogen, just sell one thing at one time. So if you don't, and otherwise you'll confuse your audience. I was like, no, because, we sell supper clubs and dine at home, and we have a membership, and and then I went, oh, we're not selling enough. And then I listened. Oh, and guess what? My sales went up. So I would say that is your second thing, is Natalie will give you a good kick and tell you to shut up and listen in a nice way. Well, not always. No, but don't work with her if you're worried about things like that. She will tell you, to listen. She's pretty blunt and honest. And I think that's really helpful, because you don't want someone to pat you on the head and go, oh, well done, Imogen, that was a lovely post, if it's not. It's helping you go, okay, where are the call to actions? How could you make that stronger? That didn't work. How could you do it better? And I think that's really clear. So this isn't a course where it's just going to give you a load of templates and you just insert your own words. If that's what you're looking for, that's not going to be for you. This is about you doing the work. It's about you really focusing on who your audience is, what they look like, what your offer is, why you do it, and building that confidence with it inside. Because if you don't feel confident about your offer, you're never going to be able to sell it. People always laugh at me now. I'm so confident about my offer. You can just phone me up and I'm like, yeah, and I love talking about it. Duncan often, he's like, who was that sales call with? I was like, I wasn't having a sales call. I was having a chat with like Auntie Margaret or whatever. And then she's bought a ticket, but that wasn't my intention. Not my actual Auntie Margaret, but that's not your intention. So I think one is that got someone there to kick you up the backside, and you're doing it with others, and there is that excitement when you see others doing so well with it. You're like, yeah, I can do it.
Amazing.
It isn't like people aren't there with, like, how we sometimes think, oh my god, everyone else is so much further ahead than me, I'm never going to be able to do it. This is for you, kind of like if you're a small, medium business, you can be either like we were doing it with people who are just starting, and then there's me that's 3 years on, that's more established. We've got a bigger brand. We have got more sales, but we plateaued. So we wanted to get up to the next level. I wanted to be getting up to my 5 to 10K months, and how was I going to do that? But you've got other people in there who were getting their first ever sale. So it was really good because you both learn from each other. Confidence is a huge thing. Just building that confidence and feeling good in what you're doing and knowing why you're doing it was also a really big part of it for me. The third really is Natalie. Like, as much as other people could sell exactly the same course and I wouldn't feel the same about it, it's because you're doing it with Natalie. You've got her there every 2 weeks talking to you. I mean, you can speak to her in between. She's not going to like kick you in the face, but you can put your posts in the group and feedback and do things because she wants you to succeed. Because she actually really believes in you. But secondly, her course would look a bit rubbish if people didn't succeed at the end of it. She wouldn't have people like me coming back going, oh, she'd be like, oh, I've got tumbleweed. So that's also, it's in her interest for it to succeed. And I think it's okay to say that. So those are the 3 reasons I would really say, go and get on it. It's, it's an investment that you'll make back. I don't really know anyone that hasn't made it back. And I just think, it's a great thing to do. And sorry, I'm going to say one more thing. Also, sometimes sales we can bury down. We're like, oh, I'm going to do all of my I do this. I'm going to do all of my content, or I'm going to speak to all of these networky people, but I'm not going to sell anything. I'm just going to chat to them. And we bury sales right down. So actually, when you spend some money, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I've spent the money. I've got to focus on my sales because I have to turn up to this call every 2 weeks. And I've spent the money. I've got some skin in the game. I want to make this work. So I think that's the other thing, is that you're making sales a priority, and that's what's going to move your business forward, and you'll get to do all the things that you enjoy doing more. Like, I know without this course, we would not be going on our holiday to Texas next year. We know we can do it. We're going out for my cousin's wedding. We're going to Texas. We're going to spend a month out there. That's because I've set my goals, set my targets after doing Sales Made Simple. So that would be my reasoning.
It's so important, like, just for the clarity bit, I think. And thank you very much. I think But I know that we are both agreed on this before I say it. It's like you've got to know your numbers. Like if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. Like I don't know what you're doing, but you've got to know your numbers. And I think I'm not the best planner in the world, and there's lots of planning in this course, but I know that it's important and it's what keeps me on track. And a lot of people go, well, I need to increase my revenue. Okay, right. What have you earned this month? They can tell you what they want to earn in a year or what they want to earn in a month, but what have you earned this month? What have you earned this week? What have you earned today? So it's you've got to keep track on what you're doing to measure it, you know. And if you don't, then
and numbers are a big part in SMS. And I'm probably bad for not. I grew up in a household where numbers were everything, even for my birthday parties. How many people are coming, Imogen, actually? How much money have you got to go and spend to buy the things? How much? And I just, I'm 4 years old, Dad. Gotta know your numbers, Imogen. And then when I got older, I used to put on club nights. I sometimes made more then than I do now, which is a bit depressing. But I had my club nights, and because I worked out that if I printed it on see-through plastic, that people lost the ticket or it rubbed off. So then they'd buy another ticket because they didn't want to miss out. So you sold it twice. Dad was like, Imogen, that's called fraud. And I was like, but knowing your numbers, it is amazing. Like some people came, people that are on the course and you're asking them what their margins are. Natalie was asking and people didn't know that. And I was like, wow, because I have to say, probably before the course, I was pretty good with my numbers, but now every single morning our numbers are rolled out and we look at them. Sometimes I feel overwhelmed by it. We all do, don't we? And it makes you feel a bit, but actually when you face them every single day, you can do something about it rather than just being a bit of an ostrich and hiding from them.
Yeah, and it's a good indicator of where you are, because sometimes it's a lovely surprise and you go, oh, I didn't know that had come in. That's amazing. And sometimes it's like, right, I wanted to make X amount this month. I'm at this, so I know I need to sell more. And it gives you that push, I suppose, that you need.
Rocket fuel.
Yeah. And I think, that money is a good motivator. 100% money is a good motivator. And you just got to think, how can I serve more in the world to help more people? So it's like people over money for sure. But never forget that money is important, because if you're not making money from your business, you've got a hobby, you haven't got a business, so it's really, 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 really important. But
also when you're making more, I know that we give some tickets away for our supper club, or for our dine at home, we might treat someone, and we could do acts of kindness because we're making more in our business. We can actually give back more. Whereas if you're doing that beforehand, sometimes it's not the right way round. So by earning more, you can give back a lot more.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like it or not, if you want to do big things, I have very big, audacious philanthropic goals, and I can't do that without getting out there more. And that is a driver and a why for me. So if you feel icky around money, we'll work on that. But if you do feel icky around money, think about why you're doing it. And the difference that makes, and the ripple effect you helping other people will make with whatever you offer. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Well, I'm just laughing because I just heard my husband and little girl walk through the door, and she's jumping up and down because she's like, when Mummy finishes work, we can go and have a picnic. And I think that's one of the things as well. When you go and do a course, you become more organised. So you're kind of like, okay, as Natalie says, she does not a huge lover of planning. I decided this year I am going to be organised, and I started the course last year, and this year I am now very organised actually, which is, I still find it hard when I say it, but I am. But it means that okay, it's a bank holiday, but we are off to the beach, we're going to do things, and this week's half term, I've got things to do, but actually I've got pretty much half days or days off the whole week, so that we can spend time together and do things because we're banking the money more, and that's thanks to Sales Made Simple. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, that's amazing. I won't keep you. I'm going to let you go to the beach. But what I do want to say is thank you very much for being part of it. And I have popped the details for the next supper club in the comments. It's in the first comment. So just book a ticket is what I would say.
And also, I'm doing Sales Made Simple again. So I hope to see some of you in there because I love it so much. And I just think, like we're never stagnant. We're always going forward in what we do. And obviously I want to make some more money because I want to have a really good time in Texas. So I'm doing it again. So I hope to see some of you that are watching in there. But yeah. Also if you're in Kent, our supper club's between Canterbury and Whitstable, so go and buy a ticket. But before you do that, go and buy the Sales Mode Simple course. And you'll have more money to do things like supper clubs.
You just reminded me of, yeah, you will. But you just reminded me of something, actually, that it is lifetime access, this course. So it's built with the purpose to be cyclical. So when you get to your next level, you start at the beginning again. And you can access it anytime, whether the course is running live or not, you will have that course forever. So a lot of people can't believe that when I say that, but that's true. So yes, so get on it is the thing. And get on it and go and get a supper club.
And the link is below for your course is there. So yeah.
Yes. So if you look, there's either you can copy it from this live stream, or I will also put the comment below. And what I want you to do is, if you're interested or intrigued or got some questions, there's a link below to book a call with me. Doesn't usually happen. I don't usually shout those out. So jump on it if you want one, because they will go.
I know they go really quick. I've never seen Natalie really do this before. She's always saying, like, don't give your time away. She's really protective in a good way. But I know you're doing this because you want to help as many people as you can.
Help as many people as possible. Yeah. So many people contact me and say, you know, like, I need to make more money, or I'm not very good at selling, or I'm not, oh, buy that from me. I'm not getting enough engagement on what I'm doing. Book a call. That's it. Yeah, I'm not a believer in icky, pushy, sleazy sales. So I will never, ever tie your hand behind your back to buy. This call is to establish if you're ready to do the work. And if you're not ready, I won't accept you.
I know you said no to people. And I just find you very authentic. And I think that makes a big difference when you're working with people. Because then you can recommend them as well because you trust someone. And as we say, like, know, and trust is when you buy from people, or love, know, and trust, I think, in today's world more. Because you kind of, we get to know people a lot more when we buy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. I'm going to let you go to the beach, and thank you so much for sharing your story and your time with us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Enjoyed it.
Have a sunny day, everyone.
See you later. Bye.